Hey everybody,
Hello.
My name's Angel, and this is...
I'm Nat.
And we are Animaniacs. And we're here with another episode for you guys. This week we're doing Dr. Stone.
So Dr. Stone is this new shonen that came out. I'm watching it on Crunchyroll.
And so am I.
Yeah. I don't have anything to say besides...
Right,
just a disclaimer. At the time of us recording this episode, only 12 episodes have come out.
Yeah.
So in the future, if what we're saying just...
completely changes?
Yeah, please don't hold it against
We'll
us.
make a new episode if anything happens.
If anything crazy happens.
Yeah. But, so, as of right now, we're on episode 12. I finished episode 12 yesterday, and I hasn't seen it yet.
But, I'll see it eventually.
But we wanted to make an anime. We wanted to do an anime that was coming out recently, like now. And since it's near the end of the season, and the next season starts in like 2 weeks for us, or at least of time of recording this video, we wanted to do like a more recent anime, get more people to start coming, because everyone who gets into anime is usually watching things of the season and not really all these other ones that we've been talking about.
Yeah, so Dr. Stone.
So Dr. Stone, let's talk about it. So personally, I think it's a pretty good anime.
It's a solid show. It's nothing like revolutionary. It's nothing that I'm gonna like get tattooed on my body. But it's a good show.
It's a good show. It's a good shonen. It is again. It is a shonen. It is a typically a boy show, as opposed to a shoji. Right? That's the name of the girl ones.
Yeah, sure. I'm pretty sure shojis are
female oriented, and then shonens are boy oriented.
But like that.
But usually shonens are only boy oriented because they're like action, adventure.
Pow.
Yeah. And shojis are more romance and stuff like that. But this is a shonen, so you're getting your basic action and adventure, and it's a really, really nice show. It's a really good show.
Yeah. So the first few episodes are spent meticulously building the worlds for you. So as a viewer, you have a very broad understanding of where these characters are being placed, the time that they're in.
Yeah.
And that's why it felt a little slow in the beginning.
At least for the first... Not for the first 2 episodes, but for episodes 3 to like 5 or 6. Yeah, it does feel slow. The first 2 episodes, in my opinion... They
were good.
...are super amazing because they get you hooked. And
they keep you
if
there.
You were watching last week's episode, you would know that I'm a very big person of if they don't hook me by the first 2 or 3 episodes, I'm out. And the first episode instantly is just like, whoa, what happened? This is so cool. And you have to keep watching.
They did a good job of making sure you enjoyed the first 2 episodes so you could stay for the world building episodes.
And then after that, it becomes
much more fast-paced.
Yeah, it becomes a little bit faster, and it's more like it's like playing Minecraft.
Oh my god.
Dude, like in the most basic sense, like playing a Minecraft or like a survival game. You have your goals, like, okay, we're going to do this so we can get this, so we can get this. They're getting their stone equipment to get their iron equipment to get their gold or their diamonds, and then from there going to the nether and stuff like that. Like, it's like the most basic form of survival, and it's wonderful.
Tell them like a general synopsis of the show. Really fast. So I realized we didn't give them that information.
So the show is about these 3, basically this one kid, right? It's weird though, because the first 2 episodes don't really use him as the main character. They use his friend as the main character, even though the show's about this kid, Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone, like the face boy, Dr. Stone. Senku. So the show's supposed to be about Senku, and we get introduced to him from his friend, who is, I'm trying to remember the name now, and I can't for the life of me. Wait.
His slow friend.
Dr. Stone characters. Taiju, yeah.
Taiju.
So the anime starts off, and the main character's name is Senku, right? And we see the first 2 episodes in Taiju's perspective, which is his best friend, right? Senku he's the poster boy. He's Dr. Stone, right? Taiju is like his friend that instead of him being the smart one, he's the brawn to Senku's brains, right?
He's really strong.
He's the strong
full
idiot.
Of energy. Yeah.
And so the story is about pretty much Senku and like all of humanity one day randomly out of nowhere become petrified and they turn into stone, right? And everyone is stuck in stone for thousands of years, 3,700 years or 5,700 years.
3,700
years. Yeah, 3,700 years to be exact. And Senku was the first one to wake up, right? Quote unquote, because we don't know if anyone woke up before him. Actually, we do know.
Well, but they don't.
Yeah, they don't know.
It's confusing. It's weird.
So, but Senku's like the first one to wake up, and so he wakes up during spring, which was optimal for him. He kind of like forced himself to wake up. And he was able to break out of the petrification, and he started surviving on his own and did a bunch of stuff. And then later on, his best friend came out, and together they started working on a way to like
build a whole new modern.
Yeah, so like the goal for them is to build a whole new civilization from scratch. The goal is to build a whole new civilization from scratch and save all of humanity, right? So their goal is to just like save all of humanity and like depetrify everyone and make sure they start civilization again and try to get it back to pace to where it was before.
What's really interesting is that about this show may seem like a typical like man versus wild dystopian, but as you progress, Dr. Stone is able to figure out a way to release people from the stone. And immediately we get our first antagonist. So this antagonist's main goal is to make sure that nobody old is released from the stone, because he feels that all the problems of the world come from these older people and from the introduction of science.
Yeah. So he's like trying to force a world where he's the leader, basically, and science doesn't exist, and it's led by all the younger generation of the people who were frozen in stone, versus Senku's goal, which is to take out everyone, save all of humanity, not just a specific group, and then have science and rebuild the civilization to what it once was
as quickly and efficiently as possible.
And so
throughout the show, we're seeing Senku do all of these different like crazy science experiments,
and he can't do it by himself because he's not strong. So you see how he interacts with all the characters and kind of like uses them, but not really, to like do what he wants.
Uses them to like their advantage.
Yeah, uses them to his advantage, so that way he can do what he needs to do to advance civilization, right?
Yeah. And then what's another part of that, which is really fun, is that we get to see like every science experiment is like legitimately true. Yeah. So the show, you can tell they put like a lot of thought into it.
They put a lot of effort into like making sure everything they did was as accurate as possible, even if it's just like a small tidbit of it. Yeah. And they go really in depth, and in fact, it's really cool because not only is it all like true, but they also have to have disclaimers for everything, because like in one episode they show how to make gunpowder, and literally right as they were talking about it, something came up and said, hey, this is actually how you make gunpowder,
please don't do it.
Please don't be an idiot and don't do it.
It's pretty interesting. So if you like to learn a lot as well, this is a good way to efficiently do it.
It's like a fun science class, really. It's and I really like science, and I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's a pretty fun anime. It's cool.
Yeah, it's cute. One thing that was really interesting about the anime that really kept me there thinking was the art style.
I think the art style is really cool. It's like a lot sharper than a lot of modern anime, and it's like very
reminiscent of 90s anime.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I think it adds to the more seriousness aspect of it, to like the survival aspect. And I like the design, like they talked about it, the design of them having the marks on their face because of the stone. Yeah. I think that's really cool. And it's a really quick and easy way as a viewer to distinguish which characters were depetrified versus which characters are born into that world. Because we do find out later on, this like where I'm at in episode 12, you find out around 6 or 7 that people have actually been living there before him, and some of them were actually like born there as like a second generation.
Like, they weren't petrified in the stone. They were just
like born. Like so obviously someone came out
that was
like
not.
Yeah, like obviously someone was depetrified first, and they had generations of kids to keep like lineage going, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty. That's a really cool thing that you notice. So it's an easy way to check who was actually encased in stone and like who wasn't. It's another thing about the art style. One thing that did bother me about it is how they draw like their teeth in the mouths.
Oh my god! Okay, yeah, it's really detailed.
Yeah,
but it's really like
so weird. That's like.
But I think that helps.
The teeth.
Yeah, the fact that it's weird, like. It displays more emotion. It's like really, really weird way to say it.
I understand what you're saying, but I hated it.
Yeah.
Thanks, but like I hate it.
It's really detailed. It's really, really detailed. I personally, I really enjoy it.
No, the art style itself it took me a second to get used to. It takes me a little bit to get used to like some more like obscure art styles. The one thing that bothered me throughout the whole time. Well, there's two things that bothered me throughout the whole time. It was the teeth, and then when they awoke the girl.
What's her name?
Yuzuhara?
Yeah, Yuzuriha. Yuzuriha. Yeah. Yuzuriha.
The girl with the headphones.
Yeah.
Why are her headphones still on? Okay, so the whole point is like when you come out of stone, like you're naked, and that makes sense, you know, like
because their clothes deteriorates over thousands of years.
Exactly, like it makes sense, but why are her headphones still like on her? Like, obviously they don't work. There's no goddamn way they still work. They're wireless, you know? But, like, why? That's one thing that really, really, really bothered me. But
I mean, honestly, it bothered me for the first few... first episode, and then after that I was like, okay, whatever.
I was just, like, wondering...
It just looks cute.
Stupid. That was one thing that...
Alright, whatever. You're a hater.
Everyone needs to know that I didn't like it. But anyway.
So let's talk a little bit about how characters are introduced in the anime. So, the first character that we're introduced to ever isn't really Senku. It's more Taiju, because the first two episodes revolve around Taiju and how he wants to confess his love to this girl Yuzuriha.
What's her last name?
Ogawa. Yeah, that's not a good one. That's not a good one. So it's his whole thing is that he wants to confess to her about his love to her, and like he was talking to Senku about it because it's his best friend, and Senku's like, you just have to do it because it's stupid not to, because Senku's very blunt. He's very he's logical. He's just like, if you don't tell her, then she'll never know, but if you do tell her, she will know. It's that simple.
Period.
Yeah. So Senku, being the brains, is just being logical, and then Taiju is more of an emotional and like idiot and like strong character.
Very empathetic.
Yeah,
character.
very empathetic.
More like the audience kind of.
Yeah, he's like he's essentially literally there just so Senku can be smart, and like
that's a good way to put it out.
He's like the exact opposite of Senku, and they work with each other's strengths.
Together, yeah.
And that's why they're like best friends, and so they work together a lot. And then so it revolves around him wanting to go confess, and when he goes to confess to her, all of a sudden this big green wave appears and they get frozen, right? And
that
we're still in
the beginning.
Yeah,
before.
and we're still in Taiju's perspective, and we follow Taiju's perspective through the whole time of those 3,700 years of civilization advancing. We're in Taiju's perspective, and in his head, he's just constantly thinking about how he has to tell this girl that he loves her, and he has to tell this girl.
That's how he stayed awake.
That's how he stayed awake the whole time, because you find out that you can stay conscious in the stone, and so Senku stayed conscious by counting every second.
He counted every second. Imagine counting for 3,700 years straight.
And Taiju stayed awake, stayed conscious by constantly saying to himself, he's going to tell this girl that he loves her. He's going to tell this girl that he loves her. He's going to tell this girl that he loves her. And eventually, he breaks out a little bit after Senku breaks out, and you meet Senku in the Stone Age with him. And so now they're together, and they finish making their home base. And they're like, okay, we're in it to win it. And they try to find out how to depetrify stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then literally right after that, they find out how to depetrify stuff, and we get introduced to a new character. We get introduced to our main antagonist, who was kind of like a hero at the very beginning for like a second. For
a very brief second, when he killed off all the lines.
Yeah, which is Tsukasa.
Tsukasa.
Tsukasa is
a spoiler. BGW.
Tsukasa is like the kind of the mixture between Senku and Taiju.
Kind of.
On both extremes. Because he's smart. He's not as smart as Senku, but he's ridiculously strong. But he is still smart. Like, he knew how to make gunpowder from before.
Yeah.
Like, he was like... Because, like, when they were talking about the nitric acid, he was like, oh, shit, they can make gunpowder. If they make gunpowder, I lose. Because I will get shot and I will die.
Get shot and killed.
Yeah. So, we meet him for the first time, and he saves the crew because they were going to go revive the girl, but
they were being
like, attacked by lions and they needed help now, and so they revived this dude because
they knew him from before as like this major martial arts.
He's known around the world as like this boxer that is super famous and is super strong, and so they revive him first, and he comes out and he saves their lives, and then the three of them work together for a brief amount of time to stay alive together, and Senku's like still doing his mission, but Tsukasa comes out and he says, hey,
let's kill all the other people.
He's like, hey, I know what your plan is to bring everyone back, but I suggest that we don't, and we just kill off all the bad people, all the old people in the world, because they are the ones who created all the evil in the world. And Senku being a logical being was like, no, that's stupid. We need all of humanity in order to develop.
Yeah.
Like, every human being has knowledge that not everyone has knowledge to, and we need all of that.
And Tsukasa's like, develop? Why would we do that?
Why would we do that? And so Tsukasa like kind of just leaves them and goes on his own front to be fair, because like I don't see why he didn't just like interrogate him at the very beginning, like beat him up.
Because he didn't beat him up because he needed the formula to revive him.
I know, but he could have just gotten the formula then and there, like on that third episode, as opposed to like waiting.
But Senku did not trust him, was the thing.
Oh, you're right.
Senku did immediately, as soon as he let him out there, like, this guy, he was like, this guy sus. I'm not gonna let him know anything.
You're right.
That's what happened.
So he leaves them, and then he ends up trying to look for them again because he leaves for a second, and then Senku's like, okay, we have to run. So they run away from him, and
he catches them.
Yeah, he catches them, and this is all after they revive the girl, by the way.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter. But you see how the different characters get introduced, and when the girl gets, like, I guess, introduced again, like when they depetrify her, the next episode has a lot to do with, like, the three characters' backstories, right?
Yeah, as a trio.
Mm-hmm. And it goes back into, like, their childhood, and I don't know. It's just nice to see how every character, when they're introduced, you instantly kind of get what their characteristics are, and you see exactly how they interact with all the other characters. Same with like even the characters that get introduced from the village.
The village characters were my favorite characters because they're, in my opinion, the most colorful and like
they are. But that's because they're like the new generation, and you can see it. Yeah. But they're also like they don't know any better. They're all stupid because they don't know what science is.
Yeah, like they think that the people in this village that has been alive for like God knows how long, they think that Senku's a sorcerer, and then we're introduced to this other character named Chrome,
who's just as crazy as him, basically, like crazy because he's a scientist. But he just kept doing the crazy stuff that scientists do, just like look at things, be like, oh, how does this work, and then keep doing a bunch of stuff until it works and
figuring it out. Chrome is my favorite character.
Chrome's a good character.
Chrome is my favorite character, honestly. He's
literally like Chrome is like the pseudo main character is the best way for me to put him personally, like because if this anime was not in Senku's perspective, it would be in Chrome's perspective, trying to figure out how to help society advance. He's literally there to show how science advances over time, because he's like the most dumbed down version of a scientist, and Senku's the most advanced version of a scientist.
Which is, and it's also to point out that even though like Tsukasa doesn't want science to be a thing, there's always going to be somebody who's going to rub things together and try to figure out what happens. So science is just like always going to be there, and that Chrome is like an example of this. But the first person we meet from this like village is Kohaku. So she was technically disowned by her dad, who was like the leader of the village, and she gets her life saved by Senku, is what it is, right?
Yeah, because she meets
Tsukasa,
and she tries to attack Tsukasa because she saw that he tried to kill, or that he killed Senku.
That's a whole
other story. You'll see, guys. If you watch the anime, you'll understand.
Yeah, but No, we're introduced to her character, and she's really fun.
Yeah,
I enjoy
she's a
her.
cool
She's
character.
a fun character.
She's like, she looks all cute when you meet her, and then instantly turns into like a beast, like a badass.
They call her a gorilla.
Yeah,
but
she's a beast.
What I like about her character is that usually they don't let girls be cutesy and be badasses.
But she's both.
But she gets to be both, so it's really fun to see her on screen.
Mm-hmm. Usually, if they're badass, they're kind of fucking crazy.
Yeah,
for the most part.
But she's like super chill.
Yeah,
like she's really chill.
Like if they're not like, and it's not like some characters are like some girls that are cute and are badass or not badass. It's just like they're a different form of badass, if that makes sense. Like, for example, like Fairy Tail, like the girls in Fairy Tail, like they're cute, but their badass isn't more like.
I've never seen Fairy Tail.
Oh, well, they're not like.
No, but like I mean, like physical strength. They don't usually put those there, and it's fun to see her. And you get to see her later on kick somebody else's ass who is just a total jerk.
Like she's a really cool character.
She's a fun character. No, all these characters have their own like fun little quirks
personalities.
With them. So it's like it's really fun. This is like a fun show. It's nothing necessarily, I wouldn't say revolutionary, but it's definitely fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like I do it.
And I think it's strictly because of the way that the characters are. Like a good shows have to have good characters. If you don't have a good character, the show just kind of falls flat and it gets boring. These characters kind of keep the whole show entertaining, even though like it really is just a big science class and it should be boring for a lot of people. It's not, and it's because of the characters and the fact that like the way they interact with each other and the way they advance through civilization is super entertaining for like whatever reason. Like it's really hard to put an explanation on it.
It's one thing that I really do like about it is the fact, like I kind of mentioned this earlier, is that it's we have the survival of the fittest, but we also have like the man versus man, which we don't see a lot of in like those type of worlds and like scenarios. So that's what keeps it fun too. Like
it's not only one of the biggest things is that like when you're first watching the show, you're like, oh, this is just going to be how they're going to advance humanity. You don't think there's going to be any outside factors. You think it's going to be literally them against nature, and then all of a sudden, oh, we have a bad guy. We thought the whole time the bad guy was nature just trying to stop them at all costs, basically, and it wasn't. Like there's actually like man versus man. Like there's going to be different points of views, and it's super entertaining to see how they have to get over like these natural
problems,
like hurdles, or, like walls, but also solve like these personal dilemmas that other people create. So it's really entertaining to see how characters interact with each other. A cool character that shows up like as a problem is Jin. Besides Tsukasa, obviously, because he's like the main antagonist. Is Jin or Gen.
Gen.
Like Gen is like introduced as like this antagonist because he's on Tsukasa's side, and so everyone's super weary about him. He's
also super self-centered.
He's a mentalist. He's super self-centered. Like he's literally made to be a bad guy.
Yeah, but he looks like a bad guy too. Like you see a picture of him in the angle, and you're like this guy's not okay. This guy's
you watch it. You see him in the opening, and that was when I first saw the opening. I was like, damn, is that the bad guy? Because when I saw the main bad guy, I didn't think he was a bad guy because he helped the main character when I first started watching.
Did you like the opening?
Oh, I love the opening. I think the opening is amazing.
That reminds me of something else, though. I really did like the soundtrack that they had in the show.
Yeah, the soundtrack's good.
They have, like, really good, like, vocalists, and then they also have, like, the Scottish, like, points. It's very, like, it's a very good soundtrack. It's
very naturey, and that's what helps. Yes. It helps. The soundtrack helps.
The soundtrack is really good.
Yeah, the soundtrack helps with the whole, like, theme of nature and, like, trying to survive in the wilderness and stuff. And then the more dramatic parts are just, like, over the top dramatic, and they're amazing.
No, the songs are like
the music's really good. The opening's really clean.
It's a clean opening.
Yeah, the opening's super fun. I like the way they showed the different color palettes on the different characters. One of my favorite pictures or like scenes of the opening, or like I guess panels of the opening. I don't know what you want to call it. It's the one where Senku's kind of looking out, and behind him all the gears are coming out to show like technology advancing. I think that's a really cool little scene. Like I know they have posters of it, and I would love to have a poster of that. That's a really cool shot.
Dear Santa, I would like this poster, please.
But yeah, like I think opening's good. The whole survival idea is amazing. Like the anime's a good anime.
Yeah,
like it really is.
No, yeah, it's solid. Like if you want a good shonen, it's for you, but like there's not as many fights that we have seen so far.
Yeah.
Like,
the only real fight that's come out has been the lions, the one with the gunpowder on the top of the mountain,
and briefly we saw Kohaku's fight with Magma. Yeah,
and then that's about it. Most of it has been either world building, character development, or like internal conflict as opposed to like actual fighting.
Yeah.
Oh, and actually the episode 12, I guess you can count as a fight even though it's not really a fight. It's this character's what's his name? Ginro. It's Ginro's like overcome of a fear.
Okay.
And he like the way they personify his fear is by making his fear like a fairy. They make it like a water fairy. And the water fairy is like undead and stuff, and so like he goes over to like the place, saves Chrome, and then when he swipes up to save him, he like makes a tornado that like destroys the fairy in the water, which is really cool. Like it was a really cool way to personify like his fear.
I love it when they personify fear. That's like a good trope for me, when they personify someone's fear or they make this person fight another version of themselves. That's like a trope for me that like always sells. Like, I'm like yes, that's it. Like in Teen Titans when they did that, I was like yes.
But yeah, it really is a good anime, and it's just really fun. Yeah. It's cool. You actually do learn. There were some things that I didn't even realize were like actual things.
Nitric acid is so useful.
Well, I knew about that because that's like chemistry, but there was one thing that I didn't know about, which was the glass crafting. Yeah, like I didn't know that you had to be like so specific with it. Yeah, because I just kind of see it and I'm like, well, it's cool because the machines do it all right, so it's just kind of cool.
Doing it by hand
looks different. So much harder. Like when they get the craft dude to show up, and he's like in his head monologuing how how they're doing it wrong, like they're not spinning it at the right speed or like at the right.
It's not
consistency, and they're like kind of wobbling, and like when they blow, they're blowing too much or too soft. Yeah, and like he's talking about it, I'm like, wow, this is like really.
This is like serious. Yeah,
it's really really cool.
It's good. Yeah, it's a good anime. Wait, so you recommend it then?
I would recommend it for sure. This is a solid anime that's coming out.
Yeah, if you're looking for something new to watch and you don't want to be like, you don't want to think. You kind of want to think, but you don't want to think too much about too many things.
I think the biggest thing to do for like new anime, honestly, is my philosophy is kind of flawed, honestly.
Oh God.
But so like again, my philosophy is if you don't like it within the first 2 or 3 episodes, it's probably not a good anime.
No, that's not a flawed at all.
No, because there are some animes that do take a long time to pick up, though.
Okay, but that's not fun. I feel like the first 2 to 3 episodes, they need to give you something to want to stay for longer. If it's not giving you anything good, then it's not worth it, because the payout is not going to be that good. Yeah. It needs to. Doing the first 2 or 3 episodes is like the hardest part. Really, truly. So if they're not doing that right, then
no. But again, there are some anime that come out, and then like by episode 5 or 6 is when they start really picking up. But it doesn't mean that they're bad.
I don't know.
Like they're good. They're good starting on episode 5 or 6 as opposed to the first 2 or 3.
I don't know.
Sometimes it's worth watching a show in its entirety, as opposed to like not watching it at all. You just have to be careful. Another thing you can do is when you're on Crunchyroll or like on any site that you're watching anime, check the ratings, because usually whatever everyone's really liking is probably really good. There's only a few exceptions to that.
Like what?
Like
what? Controversial.
Let's not talk about that now. We can talk about that later when we give different opinions. But
Hulu and Netflix don't do that, so if anything, always just check my anime list.
Yeah,
they're
check
always
my
gonna give
list.
you the rawest.
My anime list is a very good site, actually. They have a lot of anime, and they rank a lot of anime at a very consistent rate. And typically, top of those lists are really, really good anime.
Anime Brotherhood.
You find a lot of really good anime on my anime list. Yeah. You can always look it up. You can see how people are talking about the show. Also, for new shows, you want to stick to genres that you really like. Mm-hmm. If you're like me and you just like everything, just try everything out, because that's what I usually do. I'll look at anime, I'll be like, look at the cover, and I'll read the synopsis, and I'll be like, oh, hey, I'd probably watch this, so I'll queue it up. I watch the first like 2 or 3 episodes of every anime I watch, and then I'm like, okay, how is this holding up? It's pretty good. Or how's this holding up? Oh, it's shit. Uncued.
Oh my god. Angel just wants to watch all the anime.
Yeah. Like, it's just fun.
Yeah. So, is there anything you'd like to add? Anything you want to talk about really quick?
I don't really think so. What about you? Anything?
No, I think we kind of covered everything. We were kind of just bouncing all over the place with this one.
I mean, again, this anime, the other anime we've done so far have been like a lot more in depth.
Yeah.
This one was very like simple.
We're still kind of surface level right now.
Yeah.
So there's not as much to like press on. If you guys want later, we'll probably revisit this anime by the time the season ends, just because it's fun and it's currently really fun to watch. And by episode 24, right? It's supposed to be 24. It's supposed to be 24
episode of season.
Yeah.
So by episode 24, hopefully things are a lot cooler and we can go more in depth with stuff. But as of right now, this is a surface discussion, and we didn't want to go too much in depth, but we did want to go in depth enough for people to kind of see it and be like, hey, I'm watching the show. What do you guys have to say about it? And we're telling you what we're saying.
Yeah.
It's a good anime. Art style is super dope. Characters, super dope.
The characters, honestly, are what make up the show.
Yeah,
that's like the best part. Yeah, the characters are so good.
The whole theme, awesome, and it's fairly popular right now. Everyone's loving it, so hopefully they don't mess it up. Like,
hopefully.
I mean, but that did happen this season with Fire Force. Yeah. I don't know how it happened.
Because everyone was loving it.
Yeah, and it just kind of threw out something, and it happens. Same thing with like
Say it.
Sword Art Online, like it was good and it just kind of flopped.
Don't worry, guys, we'll do that one later.
Yeah, we already have that one planned for you guys.
That's planned soon. Don't worry about it.
So yeah.
Yeah. So what's on the table for next week?
Next week we are doing Konosuba.
It's a two-parter, guys.
Two-parter. Yeah, we're trying to keep a schedule of doing a two-parter episode, like a two-parter anime.
And then
then two single animes, and just trying to keep that pattern going. So next week we do have a two-parter, and it's gonna be Konosuba, and Konosuba is gonna be super fun. I can't wait to talk about that one. Super fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
Where can they find you outside of the podcast, Angel?
Outside of the podcast, you can find me on Twitter at Gamer100Nerdy.
Because Nerdy Gamer 100 was taken.
And then on Twitch, you can find me I also stream on Twitch, and you can find me at twitch.tv/AngelLacuna because I changed the name by accident. And hopefully by the time this comes out, it'll be fixed. But it's either going to be twitch.tv/AngelLacuna or twitch.tv/NerdyGamer100. So look out for that.
You guys can find me on either Twitter or Instagram at NaJimenez16. Jimenez is JIMENEZ. I'm usually more active on my Twitter, so if you guys ever want to reach out, you can go there. And if you want to help support us, the podcast, we do have a Patreon set up. It's the Animaniacs Podcast. Contribute. If you like what we do and what we're doing and want to help us out, we really appreciate it. So go ahead and just to help us out over there. We have tiers starting at simple as $2 going up. And then we also have our Twitter, which is at Animaniacs Podcast, our Instagram at Animaniacscast. And if you want to reach out to us more personally, we do have our Gmail at animaniacscast@gmail.com.
And if you have any notes for us as we're making the episode, I know we didn't say in the other episodes, but if you have any notes for us, feel free to contact us and give us notes about our podcast and how we can improve it and how we can
just get better.
Yeah, just get better.
We're here for you guys. This is for everyone here in the community to enjoy.
It's for us to create because we wanted a place to discuss anime because it's fun.
Yeah.
And we like discussing things. And we also wanted to share with everyone. And we want to make it fun for you guys too. So if you guys have any notes for us on like the way we're making the podcast, just give us a shout out and give us those notes, and we'll take them into account and try to make it more fun for you guys.
Yep. So we're good.
We're good.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Have a good one.
You too. Have a good one.
You too.
Yeah, you too.
All right. Bye, guys.